Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition for tonight's headlines. So we have the President of the Republic receives a delegation from Somaliland. The Prime Minister presides over groundbreaking ceremony for Bera Aviation Academy. For the international scene, Russia does not want to invade Ukraine, says Russian ambassador to Brussels. Welcome to our newsroom. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, received late Thursday morning at the Palace of the Republic the head of the diplomacy of Somaliland, Mr. Isa Qayad Mahmoud, who at the head of high-level delegation is on a 72-hour working visit to Djibouti. The stay of the Somaliland Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation in Djibouti has to do with the strengthening of multifaceted partnerships and common interests that the two parties maintain in several key sectors, including trade and security. In addition to his colleagues in charge of defense, Mr. Abdelghani Mahmoud Ateye, Mr. Isa Qayad Mahmoud was accompanied during his audience with the President Guelleh by the Somaliland representative in Djibouti, Mr. Abdel Fattah Saeed Ahmed. On the Djiboutian side, the Ministers of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, took part in this meeting. It should be also noted that the representative of the Republic of Djibouti to Somaliland, Mr. Hussein Omar Qawaliye, was present at this audience. In his intervention, the head of the diplomacy of Somaliland, Mr. Isa Qayad Mahmoud, said his stay in Djibouti has to do with the strengthening of multifaceted partnership and common interests that the two parties maintain in several key sectors, including trade and security. That's why the audience with the head of the state served essentially as a framework for identifying new initiatives that could increase the level of economic exchanges between the Republic of Djibouti and Somaliland. For his part, the Djiboutian head of diplomacy, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, has indicated that's why the audience with the head of state served essentially as a framework for identifying new initiatives that could increase the level of economic exchange between the Republic of Djibouti and Somaliland. The discussion then highlighted the need for the two parties sharing a common border to intensify their security cooperation, prerequisite for successful trade integration. Under the high patronage of Prime Minister Abdelkader Kamil Mohammed, took place this morning at the International Airport of Djibouti a ceremony of laying the foundation stone of the Bera Aviation Academy. On his arrival at this site, the future Bera Academy Prime Minister Abdelkader Kamil Mohammed was welcomed by the President of the Authority of Ports and Free Zone, Abubakar Omar Hatti, and the General Directors of Air Djibouti, Mr. Abdurrahman Ali. Air Djibouti, in collaboration with the International Pilot Academy, has set up a joint venture to establish a professional aviation academy under the name of Bera Aviation Academy in Djibouti to train students from all over the world. Bera Aviation Academy was created to provide professional flight training services while offering a pilot license certification equivalent to that of Canada. For this purpose, the Bera Aviation Academy has equipped itself with training aircraft and simulators. Present at this big ceremony were members of the government, parliamentarians, the ambassadors, and consular corps, as well as the pilot stewards and stewardesses. At the end of the ceremony, Prime Minister Abdelkader Kamil Mohammed proceeded to the laying of the foundation stone of the Aviation Academy. Now listen to the leaders of the project from Canada.
Here as the head of training for Bera Aviation Academy. What does this mean? It means that I'll be working closely with Air Djibouti and International Pilot Academy to give our students the opportunity to benefit from the highest training standards. Together, Bera Aviation Academy, Air Djibouti, and International Pilot Academy are now the answer for any future pilots looking to kickstart their career. We will take our students from zero time all the way up to their first commercial airline job. From day one, our students will have access to an airline-oriented training environment, leading to an airline transport pilot license in 2 years. This is a major achievement for all of us here at Bera Aviation Academy. We are committed to this community. We are proud of the contributions we have made here and proud to be launching a new aviation academy that will help grow the local economy. It is really a win-win for all involved. For starters, this program will mean more traffic, more activity, and more visibility to this airport.
The president of the Djibouti Port and Free Zone Authority, Abubakar Umar Haddi, for his part stressed that this academy will allow students from all over the world to register for the integrated airline pilot license. We have come together, he said, to strengthen the momentum of the Djibouti Civil Aviation Authority, which has been operating for some time now. We are also working on the establishment of an Aeronautics Institute, and this institute has made it possible for national and international university to learn about all the civil aviation sciences infrastructure in collaboration with the Canadian government. The training provided by the Institute is designated to train future pilots in the aviation industry, as well as the operating system of the Tour de Contrôle. The plan system stems from the policy of the President of the Republic of Djibouti, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh. The first batch of this institute will be welcomed in March by those who have been undergoing regular training for 2 years, and the institute is in line with the development goals of the Republic of Djibouti. For his part, the Minister of Infrastructure and Equipment, Mr. Hassan Hamad Arbahim, recalled that this project of inauguration of an Academy of Airline Pilot comes to complete the picture of integrated multimodal transport. We have come together, he said, to strengthen the momentum of the Djibouti Civil Aviation Authorities, which has been operating for some time now. We are also working on the establishment of the Aeronautics Institute, and this institute has made it possible for national and international university to learn about all the civil aviation sciences infrastructure in collaboration with the Canadian government. The plan stems for the policy of the President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh. The first batch of this institute will be welcomed in March by those who have undergone regular training for 2 years, and the institute is in line to the development goals of the Republic of Djibouti. For his part, the Prime Minister, His Excellency Abdelkader Kamel Mohammed, emphasized that the employment of our youth remains for a decade at the head of the Djibouti's concern, and in particular of the head of state. Continuing, he recalled that the development of an aviation pole must unquestionably. In this sense, I am delighted to have taken part in this event at the Djibouti Airlines. Air Djibouti has entered into an agreement with the Canadian Civil Aviation Authorities in January, facilitates the launch of the Djibouti Civil Aviation Training Institute. The institute will benefit African and Arab League brokers and the international community, as well as the government of Canada is a leading provider of aviation services provided by various Canadian airlines specializing in aviation sciences at the Horn of Africa. We are committed to sharing knowledge with the rest of the world while currently assisting the government of Djibouti with aviation. Already 10 years that the Djibouti armed forces are deployed in Somalia as part of the pacification of this neighboring brotherly country under the banner of AMISOM, the African Union mission diligent by the United Nations. The deployment of the Djibouti's armed forces is in Somalia is a testimony of the will of the President of the Republic and Supreme Chief of the Armed Forces, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, concretized by the Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim. This decision to deploy the Djiboutian army comes after the decline of Somalia, which sank into the fratricidal war after the fall of the dictatorial regime of General Siad Barre. It is in this context that early in the day, Thursday, January 27, 2022, at the 7 EM, the Minister of Defense in charge of relations with Parliament, His Excellency Hassan Omar Mohammed Burhan, accompanied by the Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, visited the Camp Mariama in the locality of Wea, where the Battalion Hill 9 is installed, whose departure to Beledweyne is imminent. This inspection visit is part of the successions of the Battalion Hill 7 deployed since 2019 in Somalia. Recall that the Republic of Djibouti deploys 2,000 soldiers, men and women, who operate under the banner AMISOM as part of the peacemaking process in Somalia. Arriving on board the Dolphin helicopter, His Excellency Hassan Omar Mohammed Burhan and General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim were accompanied by the Minister of Interior Said Nuh Hassan, the Mayor of Djibouti Fatma Awali Usman, the Minister of Youth and Culture Dr. Hibo Mumin Asowe, the Minister of Social Affairs Solidarity Ulufa Ismail Abdo. Among the prominent civil authorities, we noted the presence of the prefect of the city of Arta, Mohammed Sheikh Hassan, the president of the regional council, and the customary leaders of the region. On the military side, participated the General Confort commanding the French forces stationed in Djibouti, the chief of the National Gendarmerie, and the deputy directors of the National Police, the colonel commanding the Djiboutian Coast Guard, the director of the Military Academy of Arta, the chief of the Rapid Action Regiment, and the senior officials of the Djiboutian Armed Forces. Upon descent from the helicopter, the delegation led by the Minister Hassan Omar Mohammed Burhan was welcomed by General Tahir Ali Mohammed, the Chief of the Defense Staff, Colonel Major Mohammed Qayad Guelleh, Deputy Chief of the Defense Staff, and Colonel Waqdi Jama Musa, ADF Chief of the Protocol. In the wake, the Minister of Defense in charge of relations with Parliament, Hassan Omar Mohammed Burhan, accompanied by the Chief of the General Staff, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, conducted a joint review of the troop. The Hill 9 Battalion is under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Humed Ahmed Mohammed and has been in Mariama for the past 3 months to perfect their specific military operational training before any deployment. Once seated at the official podium, Colonel Humed Ahmed Mohammed, commander of the Hill 9 Battalion, addressed the Minister of Defense in charge of relations to give him a brief overview as well as the journey undertaken by his Hill 9 Battalion from its rise to its operational training and pre-deployment. Colonel Humed Ahmed Mohammed said that the battalion has gone through 3 phases to have the phase of ramping up, the phase of preparation of operationality, and the phase of the pre-deployment.
qaadiga fogiyo qomyaha dunidu raganimada way iqireen oo way qadariyaan quwadda difaacaaniyo qorigii nabadeede quwadda difaacaaniyo qorigii nabadeede.
In his speech, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces, said that it is in November 2011, that's to say for 10 years, so that the Djibouti Armed Forces are committed to AMISOM in order to participate in the restoration of peace in the sister country of Somalia. This commitment is part of the will and enlightening vision of His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, President of the Republic, Head of Government, and Supreme Commanders of the Armed Forces to support peace and stability in our sub-region and in the world. This solemn ceremony, which brings us together today, consecrates the departure in mission in Somalia in our 9th Battalion Hill Walal within the framework of AMISOM. I would like first of all to express in the name of the Djiboutian Armed Forces and in my personal name my thanks to the civil and military authorities present at this ceremony in the name of the Minister of Defense in charge of relations with Parliament. I would like to express my gratitude to him for his permanent support to the commander of the 9th Battalion and all his staff for their courage and their spirit since this regroupment here in Mariama. In the second part of his speech, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces, said among the major achievements of the Djibouti Armed Forces deployed in Somalia are the relief of the population during the flood, the suspension of the road blocks and checkpoints of the customers officers, the demobilization and the disarmament of militia, the initiations of pacification process in the different fractions of the sector, the liberation of several towns, and re-establishment of security, creation, equipping, and training of Somali army and police in the area, medical support for the civil population, repair of the abandoned airports in Beledweyne, Bulle Burde, and Jalalakhsi, renovations of the runways and constructions of the dikes against the overflow of the Shebele River. In this regard, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim said, I would like to salute the exemplary reactions of the Djiboutian Armed Forces who are carrying out their vital missions despite all the difficulties, because by fighting terrorism in Somalia, we are also fighting the risks of its extension in our sub-region. For his part, the Minister of Defense in charge of relations with Parliament, Hassan Omar Mohammed Burhan, stressed in his speech that the history has shown that despite our limited resources, our country has not ceased to work towards the stabilization of this brotherly and neighboring country. Torn by 10 years, by years of war, but also by terrorism. Despite all the difficulties, our men, in addition to their commendable actions of a humanitarian nature for the benefit of our Somali brothers, have been able to liberate several towns and restore security in their area of responsibility. Following the speech, the delegation witnessed a tactical maneuver reflecting the type of missions conducted in the Somalia theater of our operations. This tactical operational knowledge reflects the knowledge acquired during their specific trainings at Mariama. Let us view an overview.
Les éléments pris à partie sous le feu de l'ennemi débarquent. Ainsi, il commence à exploiter les cheminements battus, la Rosseur, Lama, compagnie. Notre groupe se place parapluie habituel afin de réaliser un débordement. d'adopter l'information commune. C'est parti les objectifs des éléments. Signal en lui infligeant maximum de pertes.
On the sidelines of the ceremony, the Minister of Defense in charge of relations with Parliament, Hassan Omar Mohammed Burhan, accompanied by the Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, and all the guests paid a heartfelt tribute to our brave soldiers who fell in the theater of operation to pacify Somalia. For their memory, a stele was erected at the training center of Mariama, where His Excellency Hassan Omar Mohammed Burhan laid a wreath of the threshold of the monument dedicated to the martyrs. To close this ceremony, the military command invited all the guests to a breakfast around the table in a serene atmosphere. Thereafter, the Hill 9 Battalion made a point of offering present and gift to the military high command to show their satisfaction.
الذين قتلوا في سبيل الله أمواتا بل أحياء عند ربهم يرزقون فرحين بما آتاهم الله من فضله ويستبشرون بالذين لم يلحقوا بهم من خلفهم ألا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون صدق الله العظيم. اللهم اغفر لشهدائنا وشهداء المسلمين. اللهم اغفر لجنودنا الشهداء وجنود المسلمين يا رب العالمين. اللهم اغفر لهم وارحمهم وعافهم واعف عنهم واكرم نزلهم ووسع مدخلهم واغسلهم بالماء والثلج والبرد ونقهم من الذنوب والخطايا كما ينقى الثوب الابيض من الدنس. اللهم وابدل دارا خيرا من دارهم وزوجا خيرا من زوجهم واهلا خيرا من اهلهم. فاتحه لهم.
The group of the French-speaking ambassador to the United States has appointed Mr. Mohammed Siad Douale, the ambassador of the Republic of Djibouti to the United States and representative to the United Nations as its new president. The news came today. This appointment is not due to chance. It is linked to the exemplary work done by the ambassador of the Republic of Djibouti, Mohammed Siad Douale, and it's a good result, a diversity of actions and initiatives for this country for the benefit of his compatriot, but also the Djiboutian-American cooperation. The announcement of these new steps in the careers of the diplomat was welcomed in the world of diplomacy. Ambassador Mohammed Siad Douale has received the congratulations at the national, international levels. In this sense, the Djibouti Radio and Television has prepared a reporters on the careers biography of the ambassadors Mohammed Siad Douale. The ambassador of the Republic of Djibouti in France, Ayed Mus'ad Yahye, proceeded on Wednesday, January 26, on behalf of the Republic of Djibouti to the signing of the convention creating the International Organization of Aids to Maritime Navigation during a ceremony organized for this purpose at the headquarters of the International Associations of Maritime Signals in Saint-Germain in Ley. The ambassador was accompanied during this ceremony by the Director of Maritime Affairs, Mr. Ali Mirah Sheikh Daoud of the Ministry of Infrastructure and Equipment, Mr. Farhan Ali Omar, consulars at the Embassy of Djibouti in France. The state parties decided to change the current status of the ALA from the non-governmental organizations to the intergovernmental organization by creating this convention on the International Organizations for Marine Aids to Navigation. Here, after referred to as conventions, all member states of the United Nations, and in particular the other signatory of the final act of the Kuala Lumpur Conference, were invited to sign these conventions at the protocol of the Ministry of Europe and Foreign Affairs, where it skipped, and then to proceed to its ratification. A ceremony marking the official opening of the initial signing of the convention on the establishment of the International Organization for Marine Aids to Navigation was held on January 27, 2021 in Paris, and has since reached 24 signatures and 4 ratifications during this final signing ceremony organized today by the Ministry of Europe and Foreign Affairs, representing the depository. 26 countries, including ours, have proceeded to the signature of a convention to reach the 30 signatures expected to now move to ratification or accessions for those who have not signed it. The Ministry of Health, through the National Institute of Public Health of Djibouti, continues its special spraying campaign, which aims to eliminate the mosquitoes and other pests in this context of cool season. The mobile team of the National Institute of Public Health has intensified its vector control activities through the implementation of the campaign in the District 1, 2, and the municipality of Bulaus. This activity follows the meeting chaired by His Excellency the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Robla Abdullah, with the mayor of the city, Fatma Awale, accompanied by the 3 presidents of the municipality. Thus, for a better collaboration with the population, the Ministry of Health urges the inhabitants of the targeted neighborhoods to open their doors to the spraying agents in order to benefit from a sustainable protection against mosquitoes and other harmful insects, according to the schedule prepared by the Institute of Public Health. These activities will continue soon in the neighborhoods of 3 and 4. For his part, the sub-prefect of the district of the city, Mr. Haibe Hared Gedid, chaired this ceremony, an important working meeting devoted to the leakage of the drinking waters and the prevention of the juvenile delinquency and dangerous product at the Leadership Center of Entrepreneurship. Participate in this meeting the director of the center, CLE, Mr. Ubaha Ahmed Malo, the various officials of the center, CLE commanders of the public security, police, and gendarmerie were also present at this meeting. The director of the CDC, the various principals of the middle school, and all the staff of the administration and sub-prefecture of the 2nd district, namely the head of the districts, councillors of the 2nd district, the imams of the mosque, as well as the local elected officials. For a broad consultation, this meeting is part of a vast operation of awareness on the fight against juvenile delinquency and dangerous product in the various popular neighborhoods. The sub-prefect of the 2nd district of Djibouti, Mr. Haibe Hared Gedid, who convened on the same occasion the local elected officials and the head of the district's councils and the 2nd district, stressed the need to take all measures to combat more effectively these scourges and prevent anything that could harm public safety. For the international scene, Russia does not want to invade Ukraine. Exclusive interview with the Russian ambassador to Brussels. So while diplomacy seems to be at the standstill on the Ukrainian issue, Euronews spoke with Vladimir Chizov, the Russian ambassador to the European Union. He wants to reassure the 27 and explains that Moscow has not desire to aggress against its neighbor. Russia does not intend to invade either Ukraine or any other countries. This is a bluff created not in Russia, but in those countries that are now spreading this message, which I would describe to as hysterical across Europe and the world, says the diplomat. In his view, NATO is to blame rather than Russia for failing to live up of the security guarantee verbally agreed upon after the collapse of the Soviet Union. You would be surprised how many weapons NATO has deployed along the Russian borders, not to mention the military bases. And I would even add to that as a pure statistics that the number of the overflights along Russia's borders in the Black Sea region, for example, increased the 70% last year. Vladimir Shizov says, I think that European consumers should be the first to worry. Vladimir Shizov, Russian ambassador to the 7 European countries. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.